Dear friends, welcome to our channel. We are very excited to share with you different stories about love and betrayal from around the world. So now, let's begin today's story journey. My husband, he's just an unemployed music enthusiast, sitting in his studio all day, thinking he's some music maestro. Vanessa's laughter echoed from downstairs, accompanied by several women's laughter. She deliberately raised her voice, as if hoping the person upstairs could hear. I wish he could be like Dominic, who at least has actual talent and achievements. Elliot sat in his study, a contract document on his computer screen marking another significant acquisition for the Anthem Music Rights Fund. He removed his glasses and rubbed his temples. This wasn't the first time he'd heard his wife talk about him this way, but each time still felt like a knife in his heart. They had been married for 17 years, and Vanessa seemed to have never truly understood his passion for music and his reasons for keeping a low profile. Elliot wasn't unemployed. On the contrary, he was the founder and CEO of Harmonic Music Rights Fund, managing a music rights investment portfolio worth billions of dollars. He had discovered and invested in many musicians who had become industry icons, ensuring they received fair compensation while maintaining their creative independence. But he chose to stay away from the spotlight, focusing on behind-the-scenes work, letting the music and artists be the protagonists. I heard your company is about to sign Dominic, a female voice asked, which Elliot recognized as Fiona, a senior agent and Vanessa's colleague. Yes, I discovered him personally. Vanessa's voice carried undisguised pride. You know, not everyone has the eye to discover real talent. Next week we'll make the official announcement. It will be Meridian Agency's biggest signing. Elliot gently closed the file and stood up to walk to the window. He recalled first meeting the so-called genius, Dominic, a few months ago. It was at an industry cocktail party that Vanessa had insisted he attend, where Dominic performed several original songs that certainly created quite a stir. Vanessa was exceptionally excited that night, insisting it would be a turning point in her career. Since then, Vanessa's behavior began to subtly change. Overtime became frequent. She set a new password on her phone, and she was always vague when answering Elliot's questions. Initially, he thought it was due to work pressure, until a chance discovery. It was a month ago when Elliot needed some files, and Vanessa had hurriedly left the office forgetting to lock her computer. Out of professional habit, he noticed the emails exchanged with Dominic in her inbox. Those emails went far beyond a normal working relationship, full of intimacy and private arrangements. You don't know how talented he is. His lyrics and melodies are so original and profound. Vanessa continued boasting downstairs. At least Dominic can create music, unlike my husband who only knows how to listen to music. Elliot felt a wave of weariness. He walked back to his computer and opened a special folder. It contained evidence collected by a private investigator, photos, videos, call records, all clearly documenting Vanessa's extramarital affair with Dominic. All evidence was obtained through legal channels, without violating personal privacy, but sufficient to prove his wife had betrayed their marriage. What made it more ironic was that just last week, his team discovered that Dominic's so-called original works were actually plagiarized from several unknown creators. These creators happened to all be in Elliot's investment portfolio, their works archived but not yet released. Dominic had somehow gained access to these works, making slight modifications to pass them off as his own. The sound of clinking glasses and more laughter drifted up from downstairs. Elliot turned off his computer, deciding not to go downstairs tonight. He needed to think, needed to plan. For years, he had maintained a low profile, and even Vanessa didn't know he actually owned the majority of shares in Meridian Agency, where she worked. It was part of his early investments, when he chose to remain anonymous, holding shares through a trust fund. It wasn't that Elliot didn't love Vanessa. On the contrary, their marriage had been built on a shared love of music. Vanessa was an aspiring music critic in her early years, and they met at a small jazz concert, both moved by the same artist's performance. Back then, she had a love for pure art in her eyes, not this obsession with fame and fortune she had now. As time passed, Vanessa joined Meridian Agency, gradually becoming one of the company's core agents. Her ambition and hunger for success began to change her, especially when she saw how some colleagues gained higher status and income through relationships with star artists. She began complaining about Elliot's low profile, believing he lacked ambition and was unwilling to use industry connections for more benefits. Elliot sighed and picked up his phone to call his lawyer, Gordon. "It's time," he said calmly. "Have all the documents ready. I think it's time for the truth to surface." The next morning, Vanessa hurriedly prepared to leave as usual. She looked radiant, carefully groomed, ready for an important meeting. "I'll be back late today," she said while pouring herself coffee. "The company has an important project. Need to work overtime." Elliot nodded, not exposing her lie. According to the investigator's report, tonight she was actually planning to have dinner with Dominic at a discreet high-end restaurant outside the city. "What will you have for dinner?" he deliberately asked. Vanessa visibly tensed, but quickly regained composure. "Probably order takeout or grab something quick at the company cafeteria." She avoided Elliot's gaze, busy organizing her purse. "Want me to give you a ride? I happen to be going out today," Elliot offered. "No need," Vanessa quickly declined. "I arranged to go with Fiona. She's coming to pick me up." Another lie. Elliot knew Fiona had taken the day off to visit her sick mother. He simply nodded, not confronting her. After Vanessa left, Elliot began executing his plan. First, he contacted Harmonic Fund's legal team, confirming that all evidence of Dominic's plagiarism was ready. Then, he contacted Meridian Agency's board secretary to arrange a special meeting. In the afternoon, Elliot arrived at the Meridian headquarters, a place he rarely visited. The receptionist clearly didn't recognize him, politely asking about his business. "I'm here to see Chairman Milton," Elliot said calmly. "He's expecting me." A few minutes later, he was led to the top-floor conference room, where Milton rose in surprise to greet him. "Elliot, what a surprise. You've kept such a low profile all these years. I thought you would never personally come to the company." Elliot smiled and shook hands with his old friend. Milton was one of the few people who knew he was the major shareholder. "Some matters need personal handling, old friend. I need you to arrange an emergency meeting for all company executives tomorrow afternoon. And keep it confidential. Don't let anyone know, especially Vanessa." Milton understood and nodded, and they spent several hours discussing details and preparations. That evening, through photos sent by the private investigator, Elliot saw images of Vanessa and Dominic intimately interacting at the restaurant. She was smiling so happily, with that genuine happiness expression that hadn't appeared when she smiled at him for a long time. In the photos, Dominic was holding a small box containing a shiny ring. This was developing faster than Elliot had anticipated. He originally thought it was just an ordinary affair, but now it seemed Vanessa was ready to leave him and start a new life with Dominic. The next day, when Vanessa returned home, she seemed distracted but clearly happy. She even volunteered to make dinner, something that hadn't happened in the past few months. "Tomorrow the company has an important press release," she said while preparing ingredients. "We're going to officially announce signing Dominic. It will be a grand event. Many media and industry people will attend." Elliot feigned surprise. "Sounds important. Do you need me to attend to support you?" Vanessa was startled for a moment, then forced a smile. "Not necessary. It's all industry professionals. You might find it boring." "But I'm your husband," Elliot insisted. "On such an important day, I should be there to support you." Unable to find a reasonable reason to refuse, Vanessa had to agree. During dinner, she frequently checked her phone, obviously distracted. Elliot noticed she had removed the wedding ring from her left ring finger and placed it in her jewelry box. That night, Elliot barely slept. He organized all the evidence and documents, ensuring everything was ready for the next day. Tomorrow would be the day when the truth would come to light, and also the beginning of redefining his life. The next afternoon, Meridian Agency's lobby was newly decorated, prepared for the major press release. Vanessa, dressed in an exquisite suit, was busy directing staff. When she saw Elliot appear, a flash of discomfort crossed her face. "You really came," she forced a smile. "Please sit in the back row. This is mainly a company event." Elliot nodded, but didn't do as she said. Instead, he walked straight to Milton's office. Meanwhile, the company's executives were notified to attend an emergency meeting before the press release. Vanessa also received the notification, but told her assistant she was too busy to attend. "This meeting is mandatory," the assistant insisted. Milton specifically emphasized that all executives must attend, including you. Vanessa had to put down her work and hurry to the meeting room. Opening the door, She was surprised to find all executives already seated, and at the head seat was her husband, Elliot. "What's going on?" she asked confusedly. "Elliot, what are you doing here?" Milton stood up and said seriously, "Please be seated, Vanessa. This meeting has been convened by our major shareholder, Elliot." "Major shareholder?" Vanessa looked incredulously at Elliot. "Is this some kind of joke?" "It's not a joke," Elliot said calmly. "I am the founder and CEO of Harmonic Music Rights Fund, and also the major shareholder of Meridian Agency, holding 51% of the company's shares." Silence fell over the meeting room. Everyone looked shocked at the couple. Vanessa turned pale, seemingly unable to comprehend the situation. "Why did you never tell me?" she finally murmured. "Because I wanted you to establish yourself in this industry on your own merits, not relying on my connections and position," Elliot answered. "I respected your career path and believed in your abilities. But now, I'm forced to intervene." He gestured for his assistant to distribute a document to each attendee. "These are investigation reports on the artist Dominic, who is about to be signed. His so-called original works are actually plagiarized from works of several unknown creators." Vanessa flipped through the document, her expression growing increasingly grim. Elliot continued, "Worse, these plagiarized creators happen to all be under my fund's protection. If the company signs Dominic, not only will it face huge legal risks, but will also seriously damage the company's reputation." The meeting room buzzed with whispers. Executives exchanged glances, obviously shocked by this major discovery. "But that's not all." Elliot's voice became more serious. "I've also discovered someone within the company violating professional ethics, using company resources to serve personal relationships." He brought out another document that detailed how Vanessa had diverted company resources to prioritize promoting Dominic, including misappropriating other artists' promotional budgets and arranging special treatment. At the same time, photos and communication records clearly showed their inappropriate relationship. Vanessa's face turned from white to red, her eyes filled with anger and shame. "You investigated me?" she almost shouted. "I protected my investment and company," Elliot responded calmly. "Your actions have seriously violated company policies and professional ethics." He turned to the other executives. "Today's press release will be canceled. Additionally, I announced the immediate termination of Vanessa, as well as all employees involved in this improper conduct, including Fiona and several colleagues who once mocked that I had no job." The meeting room descended into chaos. Vanessa stood up, glaring at Elliot. "You can't do this. You've ruined my career." "No," Elliot calmly responded. "Your own choices ruined it." The press release was suddenly canceled, creating confusion at the venue. Media reporters and industry professionals exchanged puzzled glances, while Dominic, who was supposed to be the protagonist, stood at the edge of the stage, looking confused around him. Elliot walked onto the temporary stage, took the microphone. "Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to Meridian Agency's press release. I am Elliot, founder and CEO of Harmonic Music Rights Fund, and also the major shareholder of Meridian." A murmur swept through the venue, flashes popping continuously. Elliot continued, "The signing announcement scheduled for today has been canceled. After investigation, we've discovered severe plagiarism in the works of the artist in question. As a company that respects originality and intellectual property rights, we would never collaborate with such practices." Dominic's face changed dramatically, attempting to leave, but security personnel had already blocked him as instructed. Furthermore, Elliot's voice echoed through the venue. "We've discovered serious professional ethics issues and conflicts of interest within the company. The responsible individuals have been dismissed. Meridian will undergo a complete restructuring, reaffirming our commitment to musical originality and professional ethics." Reporters below rapidly recorded every word, some already calling their editorial departments to report this major news. Just then, Vanessa rushed onto the stage, trying to grab the microphone. "These are all lies. Elliot is retaliating because I'm leaving him." Security personnel quickly approached, but Elliot signaled them to stop. "It's all right, let her speak." Vanessa, face full of tears, emotionally charged. "He can't accept that I've fallen in love with someone else, so he's using his power and money to punish me. Dominic is a genius. His works are completely original." Elliot simply shook his head, then signaled the technical staff to activate the big screen. On the screen appeared a split-screen comparison. On the left, original recordings and sheet music from several unknown creators. On the right, Dominic's so-called original works. Even laypeople could clearly hear the striking similarities between them. These are all date-recorded original creations, Elliot explained. All these creators work under my fund's support. Their works are documented. Dominic somehow obtained access to these works and claimed them as his own. Dominic finally broke free from security and rushed onto the stage shouting, "This is slander. I never plagiarize." Elliot calmly pulled out a document from his folder. "We have evidence showing you accessed our database through hacking to obtain these unpublished works. This is no longer just a plagiarism issue, but involves cybercrime." A murmur swept through the venue. Vanessa looked at Dominic, her eyes full of doubt and shock. "Is this true?" Dominic avoided her gaze, which was answer enough. In the following days, this incident caused a huge stir in the music circle. Major media rushed to report on this music industry plagiarism scandal, and social media erupted into a massive storm. Vanessa and Dominic's relationship was exposed, and she not only lost her job, but also the reputation she had carefully cultivated in the industry for years. Dominic's situation was worse. Multiple streaming platforms urgently removed all his works, and recording contracts about to be signed were all canceled. More seriously, several plagiarized creators, with Elliot's support, filed legal suits against him, demanding enormous compensation. A week later, Elliot returned to an empty home. Vanessa had moved most of her belongings, leaving only a brief note. "I can't forgive what you did, but I also can't justify my mistakes. I need time to think about the future." Vanessa, Elliot placed the note aside, not responding. He knew this marriage was beyond repair. Not because he couldn't accept betrayal, but because he finally saw Vanessa's inner nature. She cared not about the purity and beauty of music, but the status and prestige it could bring. The most fundamental values between them had diverged. Meanwhile, Meridian Agency was undergoing a complete restructuring. Elliot personally screened a new management team, emphasizing professional ethics and respect for original art. During this process, he discovered many overlooked excellent talents within the company who had been marginalized because they were unwilling to take shortcuts. 3 months later, major news spread throughout the music industry. Streamverse, a leading global streaming platform, announced acquiring Meridian Agency, reorganizing it into a new department focused on discovering and nurturing original musicians. Elliot would continue as an advisor, ensuring the company's direction aligned with the original intention. At the same time, Elliot's Harmonic Fund launched a new project, Original Voices Initiative, dedicated specifically to providing legal support and financial aid to those creators who had been plagiarized, helping them protect their works and rights. For Vanessa, life became exceptionally difficult. After losing her job and reputation, she could barely find a new position in the music industry. Former friends and colleagues distanced themselves from her, afraid of being associated with the scandal. What infuriated her more was that Dominic immediately cut all contact with her after the exposure, even claiming in a media interview that she had used her authority to pressure him into using those problematic works. This double betrayal left her both angry and desperate, but she refused to admit her mistakes, still believing it was all Elliot's retaliation. One day, while Elliot was working in his office, he received a notification from reception. Vanessa was downstairs requesting to see him. She had come for 3 consecutive days, being rejected by Elliot each time. "Tell her I'm busy," Elliot calmly told his assistant. "If there's anything, she can contact through my lawyer." But this time, Vanessa refused to leave. She raised her voice in the lobby, attracting attention from other employees. To avoid an unnecessary scene, Elliot finally agreed to see her for 5 minutes. When Vanessa walked into the office, she was wearing expensive designer clothes, carefully groomed, but couldn't hide the irritation and anxiety in her eyes. This was completely different from the remorseful image Elliot had anticipated. "You ruined everything of mine," she accused as soon as she entered. 3 months, and not a single company willing to hire me. Do you know how much I sacrificed to reach the position I had?" Elliot maintained his calm. "I didn't ruin anything, Vanessa. Your choices, your actions, led to these consequences. If there's nothing else, We can end this conversation." Vanessa's expression changed, seeming to realize accusations wouldn't have any effect. She adopted a pitiful expression. "Elliot, after all, we once loved each other. 17 years of marriage, and like this? Dominic meant nothing to me. Just a momentary confusion. We can start again, I promise I'll." "Enough," Elliot interrupted, his voice filled with determination. "There's no possibility of a new beginning between us. The divorce papers are ready. My lawyer will contact you. You can't just throw me away like this." Vanessa suddenly exploded. "I helped you build these connections. I sacrificed everything for this family while you were secretly making your boring investments." Elliot stood up, indicating the meeting was over. "That's precisely the reason we can't continue, Vanessa. You've never truly understood or respected what I do. You only care about appearances and what others think. Now please leave, or I'll have security escort you out. You'll regret this." Vanessa wiped away her tears, a flash of viciousness in her eyes. "Nobody treats me like this. Threats will only make your situation worse," Elliot calmly responded. "The terms in the divorce agreement are fair, far more generous than you deserve. But if you choose to fight, then I guarantee you won't like the outcome." Vanessa gave him one last glare before leaving. Her shoulders stiff, her stride stiff, all trace of the feigned vulnerability and remorse gone. Elliot walked to the window, watching Vanessa exit the building and get into a waiting taxi. He felt a sense of relief, like finally removing a long troubling tumor. Betrayal wasn't just a mistake, but a choice, a reflection of character. He had completely cut ties with this betrayal, leaving no room. That night, Elliot received a call from his lawyer. Vanessa refused to sign the divorce agreement and threatened to smear him in the media. Elliot just laughed coldly. "Let her try. Prepare all the evidence. We'll proceed with the forced process." This was now his attitude. No more compromises, no more emotional manipulation. Truth is sometimes painful, but it also brings liberation and new possibilities. He wouldn't let anyone's betrayal hurt him again. 6 months later, the Original Voices Initiative held its first concert, where those once plagiarized creators finally had the chance to showcase their true talent to the world. The venue was packed, with various music industry figures attending, becoming an important platform for discovering truly original talent. After the performance, a young creator, Maya, came to thank Elliot. "Without you, our works might never have been heard. You not only saved our creations, but also changed the entire industry's ecosystem." Elliot smiled and shook his head. "I only provided a platform. The real power lies in the music itself, and in sincere creators like you." Leaving the concert hall, Elliot spotted a familiar figure in the crowd, Dominic, looking disheveled and down and out, trying to blend into the event. Security quickly recognized him, keeping him outside. Elliot coldly observed, without any sympathy. Dominic's career had completely collapsed. Initially, he tried to defend himself, claiming Vanessa had misled him, but recordings and email evidence clearly showed he not only knew he was plagiarizing, but actively sought ways to circumvent copyright protection. Multiple record companies and streaming platforms joined to sue him, with damage claims reaching millions of dollars. More ironically, the Music Industry Association conducted a thorough investigation on him, discovering that almost all works he claimed as original contained varying degrees of plagiarism. This completely destroyed his professional reputation. Now, he couldn't even secure performances in the smallest bar, reduced to performing on streets for handouts. Vanessa's situation was equally bad. In the divorce proceedings, she tried to claim half of Elliot's assets, asserting she had contributed significantly to his career success. But Elliot's lawyers presented sufficient evidence proving his fund was established before meeting Vanessa, and they had a strict prenuptial property agreement. The court ultimately awarded her a settlement far below her expectations. What shocked her more was discovering she was blacklisted across the entire industry. Not a single agency or record company was willing to hire her, and former friends avoided her. Some inside sources revealed this wasn't the result of Elliot's active retaliation, but a natural reaction from industry professionals to her betrayal behavior. In the entertainment circle, where reputation is crucial, no one wanted to work with someone who betrayed her husband and abused her authority for personal gain. When the divorce process was finally completed, Elliot received the final report from his lawyer. Vanessa had been forced to leave New York, moving to a small town where she worked as an ordinary clerk in a distant relative's small company. On social media, she occasionally posted complaints and accusations, but hardly anyone paid attention to her anymore. Regarding this news, Elliot felt no compassion. He never considered himself taking revenge. He simply let the truth surface, allowing betrayers to face the consequences of their actions. In his view, loyalty and honesty weren't values that could be bargained with, but the foundation of character. Once betrayal occurs, that line can never be crossed again. It was precisely this firm attitude that won even more respect in the industry. After acquiring Meridian, Streamverse appointed Elliot as advisor to the newly established Original Artist Protection Department. This department was specifically responsible for identifying and combating music plagiarism, while providing legal and resource support to emerging creators. At the same time, Elliot's personal life was also gradually rebuilding. He wasn't in a hurry to start a new romantic relationship, but focused on rediscovering the pure joy music brought him, a feeling he had almost forgotten in the later years of his marriage with Vanessa. He began funding several music schools, personally providing guidance to promising students. What particularly satisfied him was that those creators plagiarized by Dominic now received the recognition they deserved. Maya's work, Unmasked, became a hit single that year. Ironically, this song had originally been stolen by Dominic and slightly modified, claimed as his own. Now, the original work shone before the public, while the plagiarist became an industry warning. Whenever someone asked Elliot why he was so determined to cut ties with betrayers, he always answered, "In music, one wrong note can ruin an entire symphony." Similarly, betrayal isn't a forgivable mistake, but a choice that exposes a person's essence. This had become his creed. He didn't let betrayal define him, but used it to re-examine what was truly important: authenticity, honesty, and respect for art. Today, when Elliot's name is mentioned in the industry, people no longer just think of his wealth and status, but his dedication to original music and defense of truth. In an interview, a reporter asked if he regretted exposing Vanessa and Dominic, causing their career downfall. Elliot simply replied, "I didn't destroy anyone's career. Each person is the result of their own choices. Betrayal and deception have never been a sustainable path to success." When asked if he would consider reconciling with his ex-wife, Elliot's answer was even more resolute. "Some lines once crossed cannot be returned from. I don't believe betrayal can be truly forgiven, much less pretend to forget it for superficial peace. This isn't resentment, but adherence to my own values." Today, Elliot has completely emerged from the shadows of the past. His life and career have become more fulfilling, while those who once betrayed him have become victims of their own actions. In the world of music, as in life, honesty and authenticity are always the most enduring values. This is precisely what Elliot firmly believes. He didn't let betrayal define him, but used it as an opportunity to redefine what's truly important and rebuild his life according to this belief. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating content. We look forward to seeing you in our next story.